Okay, so holly is a fairly basic Christmas type decoration. Even if you're not particularly Christian, it's a traditional kind of pagan thing. So for holly you've got berries and leaves, and the berries are easy enough. I'm using 1 centimetre strip here, and I've got this is about 4 lengths of A4. It's easier to measure it in A4 than it is to try and work out inches or centimetres or whatever, because everyone knows what an A4 is. So a berry is a nice tight roll, so I'll just whiz through that. If you get beyond maybe 5 or 6 sections, 5 or 6 pieces of paper, then it gets quite large, which I'll get to that in a minute. And it can be difficult to do. So I'll show you a couple of techniques to making it slightly easier. So by all means, if you're using kind of traditional quilling papers, you can glue them together and make monster rolls if you really want to. But as I said before, that becomes really expensive. So doing it this way is easier. But if you want to go dainty as well, you can reduce the size of these quite considerably and back them onto something, because these will stand up pretty much on their own. So that's the point of making this chunky. So got a couple of cherries made. Now I'm going to get onto the leaf. Now here I've got a length of 15 pieces of green paper. So what I'm going to do is throw the end of that onto the floor. So hopefully it untangles itself and untwists itself as I'm reeling in. So for the long ones, you kind of need to give yourself a bigger end to work with. So I go with about 1 centimetre width just to start with, so I've got a bit more to hang on to. Because at some point you're going to lose the grip here, and then you're kind of having to rely on finger pressure rather than anything else to hold this in. So come to the end, I'm going to crank this to make it kind of croak, and then get to the point where it stops croaking. So removing the tool because there's no grip left in there, and just pull out the end to add a little bit more tension. And then let it go. Because I pulled it so tight, it's not moving so well on there. So you just kind of tease it a little bit. Do it on here. You'll kind of release some pressure. So I don't want it super loose, so I'm going to reel in a little bit. So about that much, so I've got a decent amount of paper to play with. And just glue the end. I'll let it settle a bit more. So now I need to make a holly leaf. So again, it's fairly simple. Take one end, here is the glued end, so you always start with that. So one end and pinch, other end and pinch. So that's a very basic leaf shape. Then for a holly leaf, to pinch in to the side once, side again, like that. Looks a bit raggedy at the minute, it will sort itself out in a moment. So I've got a vaguely 6-pointed holly, like that. So what I'm going to do is pin this into place. So I'm going to start with the top of the leaf, again creating tension between the pieces, or the corners, and then at the bottom. More pins on the sides to pull those. So kind of fiddle around with it until you're happy with the position that the points are in. And then back to your PVA glue in a applicator. And you want to create a spine on this one to support it. So from the top a line of glue all the way down the middle. Doesn't have to be particularly thick, just enough to capture the paper. Going a bit low. So one down the middle, and then from each point into the middle. Like that. That one. And there. So when that dries, it's going to hold in the actual shape. I'm going to stick on a couple of my holly berries. 3. So my holly has pretty much dried. I've got a couple of little bits of damp on the front here, but that's not a problem. And the kind of webbing I put on with the glue has solidified most of the paper so it doesn't shift out of shape. So I've got my 2 leaves, 3 berries, and 1 leaf, 2 berries. Now I want to double these up to make a spray like that. So first of all, I need to put in my string. So I'll go for that one. So any bit of fancy string will do. Just embroidery floss works for now. Okay, just want to double it up and make a knot. I want to place that somewhere in the middle of my berry cluster here, so that that will sit on top and cover the entire thread. So that's underside, that's good side. So this might take a couple of applications of glue to make sure this is completely solid. And make sure I've got some all the way along the middle there. So I'm going to dab the knot in so it gets damp on one side, and then turn it over. That, and then that's the better side facing out, the berries on top. Now that just needs to sit and dry, and then I can come back later on with a Q-tip or a piece of sponge and some gold acrylic and just add a little bit of colour detail to the edges.